You wouldn't play a game the second half the same way you would the first, especially if you have the lead. This is the Retirement Halftime Show, helping you maintain your lead in retirement.
We are here today with Alexander Joyce with ReJoyce Financial. Alex, we are currently living in a time when the largest amount of boomers are crossing that threshold into retirement. These people have saved their whole lives and they can still wind up making big mistakes that can cost them dearly. You write about this in your book, ReJoyce in Retirement, everything you need to know to get everything you want. What would you say some of the most common mistakes people make in retirement are?
I think people, they fail to plan. They put money in these qualified accounts. And the way the IRS looks at money, if you will, is qualified and non-qualified.
Right.
Qualified money is when you put the money in that qualified account, which is your 401k or your 403b or your TSP or your 457 plan. Doesn't matter what it is. This money's never been taxed. And as we grow this money, compound interest, of course, takes into play, if you would. And then we march forward and we get to the top of this mountain. And that money has never been taxed. Now, again, we get past the point of 59 and a half where that money becomes mature, if you will. But then we get to the very top and we kind of look out, as anxious as we may be, we can no longer rely on that 2-week paycheck we had.
Right.
And now we're faced with spending that money.
Yes.
Which is a tax issue.
Right.
Right. And so qualified money going up is great to have as you're saving. But when we go down, we need a lot of non-qualified money.
Right.
The issue is that RMD, as we just mentioned, as I reference in the book.
Yes.
RMD is a real thing because it started at 70 and a half, and then of course we pushed it to 72, and then now 73, right? It's kind of this
Keeps
moving
going
target,
up,
right? And so what happens is you're forced to start taking a distribution out of this qualified pot, which in most people is the largest percentage of wealth that you've created, saved. And now you got to start taking about 4% out every single year. Issue, tax issue. It gets worse.
People don't think about it.
They don't think about that. This is.
They don't plan for it. Maybe
this is not planned for.
Right.
And so then we look at, does that percentage go up?
Right.
Here's the issue: if RMD percentages go up, and taxes happen to go up, and as we mature in life, our spending goes down. What we're basically doing is outliving our money.
Yes.
I don't care who you are.
Yes.
And so really, the concept in our practice, being holistic, is plan first, invest later. We start focusing on the tax efficiencies in a portfolio as opposed to taking risk on principle to create more of a tax issue.
Okay, right. It's not a one-size-fits-all approach anymore.
It can't be, right? Most of the people that we help, they're past the point of taking a bunch of risks. They just really haven't been told to stop making so much money because we need more efficiency inside of the overall plan. It is an issue. And so being tax focused, once again, we just want to make sure that we understand what the problem is at hand and make sure we address it. And our practice, if I may, very unique because we can focus on all these pieces. We have tax planners in our office.
Right.
We got people that file taxes in our office for our clients. Cool that it doesn't cost anything, but more cool that we're paying attention to the structure of the taxation inside of the portfolio.
Alex, do a lot of people have that RMD? They take it out and it might just be sitting there. That could be a mistake too, right?
That's so true. I think we start to call that going broke safely.
Right.
Because, the reinvestment of that RMD generally never happens. And so what happens over time is it goes into a savings account, probably not high yielding, if you will. And it just kind of sits around. We see the cash portfolio go up. People that come in our office in their 80s, if you will, that is a very common problem and mistake, if you would.
What a missed opportunity. Right. You also talk about spending without a plan. So important.
Purpose, right? And so, being a purpose-based, goal-focused firm, like when somebody comes in our office for the first time, right? Of course, we want to manage expectations, but I call it a visit, and we invite anybody to pay us a visit. But the goal of that first meeting is just to understand the family dynamic. Even my clients that are watching could probably back that up with data. In fact, the goal is if they came and they met with me, or they come and they meet with an attorney, they come and meet with a CPA, or they come and meet with an advisor, a financial planner. Cool. Again, they're all under one roof. but the goal is the same. The mission, the purpose is the same. I don't really care how much money a person has. Can we create value?
Right.
Can we help change a life? And if we can do business.
Can we create a legacy?
Can we create a legacy?
Yeah.
And so,
life gets in the way, as we know, and especially we're seeing now and again a lot of millennials maybe moving back in with their parents, something they didn't plan for, right?
I say that a lot in my book, right?
Yeah.
I've seen that a lot. And I think I also see that emotional, connection with, of course, relatives and, of course, with money.
Yes.
And I think that those are definitely sticky situations. I've been in situations personally where we've had to tell people no. And it's very difficult when it comes to money because you want to help. The same thing with the child, the same thing with someone constantly coming back for help. I think that one of the things we do very well in our practice, of course, being a mediator for those situations, is also to create ideas, give ideas. And, sometimes we're giving advice. It doesn't, but again, Heather, the topic of money doesn't always have to be in our office about money.
Right.
Right. It could be like, again, what are the purposes? What are we trying to achieve? Is it legacy? Do we have a problem that we can solve?
That's right.
Can we create a solution?
Yeah.
Right. And so I think that being professionals in all pieces of finance, sometimes it's not always about, hey, let's make more money.
It's so true. Right. Yeah. As always, Alex, great information. And be sure to stick around because we have a lot more coming up next.
Coming up next on the Retirement Halftime Show, building a tax plan around you. How the right team delivers far-reaching value. Plus, home loans, especially for rural areas. Lower rates and no down payments are just some of the perks. Learn who is eligible. And 3 ways to consolidate your debt. How to decide if it's worth it.
Schedule a visit today. Call 317-903-9157. Text Alexander today at 707-ReJoyce.
Why pay more in taxes if you don't have to? Our certified tax advisors have a few openings remaining on their schedule and are offering tax analysis, preparation, and filing of your personal and business taxes starting at $199. Call and schedule today.
You're watching the Retirement Halftime Show, powered by ReJoyce Financial.
You're watching the Retirement Halftime Show. I'm your host, Alexander Joyce, and with me today is Marquita Berry. She is the director of our tax division. Her team is truly special because we focus on not just traditional filing, right? Making sure T's are crossed, I's are dotted, get the tax forms out the door. We're doing comprehensive analysis. We're doing comprehensive actual tax planning. And I think for us, when anybody chooses us to be a part of their family, and they should, the thing they really want to consider, obviously, when judging is how we're different. And I think that every piece of, every member, I should say, or director, if you will, of the team has a story. I have a story, right? I love sharing my story. Many people love, my story. I mean, you have a story. And I think that as we grow very tax focused, people want to know more about Marquita. So, I mean, the big thing is, how are we different? What does the tax side do? And then, why you and why that team?
Absolutely. That's a great question, Alex. Thank you. For me personally, I actually developed a passion to look at tax returns in a way that is going to most benefit the taxpayer with my IRS experience. I was an examiner for over a decade, and that means that I audited small business and self-employed individuals. And what I learned is that most people are not attempting to cheat on their taxes. They just didn't have the proper advising, right? So that gave me the idea, with the right advice, individuals can satisfy their tax liability without paying more than they should. Everyone's happy, right? Government's happy, the clients are happy, everything is well. In that time, I also was exposed to so many different industries, just about everything you could think of, from reviewing a return of a pilot to truck drivers, so many industries. And I'm so very grateful to bring that industry specific tax advice to ReJoyce Financial.
Isn't that cool? I think, my takeaway was, you say you were an examiner for the IRS. Isn't that the same as an auditor?
That is an auditor.
I'm just making sure.
That is absolutely
right? And
auditing.
That is absolutely examining. I think it's public. That's correct terminology. But I think that people need to really stop and think about that, because when you think about what you're bringing to the team, it's like you're really talking to someone that has been out there on the other side of this thing, auditing businesses, self-employed people, individuals, and you know that side,
Yes.
right? And it's like, most people say, I have more questions for my CPA, and what I really want to know is, can I make my tax life more efficient? Which means, is there something I could do better to make my tax liability lower, or, whatever the correct terminology is. You have that experience, hands-on experience, over a decade of that work, and that's who you want on your team. And I think, when we build that, we have that as a foundation, and we apply those processes forward, and we add those people to the team. That is mind-blowing, right? It is. I always say, and my mentor once said this: when you are looking to grow your business, and I've owned this practice now almost 12 years, and he said that you always want to look for people and hire people, bring people to your team smarter and brighter than you are. Right? And one example of that, right? Because I am not, I have a tax focus. I am not, certainly not one that's going to be digging into the efficiencies of a portfolio. That's why you're here. Okay. And I think to have somebody like that on our team for our viewers, listeners, prospects, clients is just truly exceptional. And you think about ways ReJoyce Financial is different. Well, there's one, right? And it's like, it's wonderful, right? And then we couple that, and then we double down on that with the filing piece in the tax side, right? So we're building tax plans, and then we're taking that plan, if you will, forward to actually file. And then our clients are like, well, you file our taxes? Well, yeah, at this point, we probably filed 98% of our clients' taxes. We're very busy, it's tax time. And then we also have, not to put the cart before the horse, we've now developed processes where we're starting to service non-clients, right? Correct. In a very inexpensive way, because we think that we can make people's tax life better. Yes. And that to me is huge, right? Yes. Any last words or anything you want people to really know more about you and our tax team?
I would just want people to know that everything we do here is customizable, and it's so important that the entire approach is built around the client. If you don't know what to do and you're confused, give us a call. A confused mind does nothing. Let us simplify everything for you and get you started.
Marquita Berry, head of our tax team. You are watching the Retirement Halftime Show. Again, Alex Joyce, your host. Stay tuned, folks. There's more show to come.
Next on the Retirement Halftime Show, IU basketball coach Mike Woodson shares a money lesson he learned from his days playing on the court. And juggling too many credit cards? Learn the formula to determine if a debt consolidation plan would work for you.
Hoping to have enough income to last through retirement isn't a strategy, it's a recipe for failure. Everyone needs a tangible plan. ReJoyce Financial can help you get on the right path. Come in for a visit and let's discuss what's going on with your financial well-being. We're an inclusive team that won't offer judgment, only ideas on how to make your money work for you. Give us a call at 317-903-9157. Let us help you rejoice in retirement.
You're watching the Retirement Halftime Show, powered by ReJoyce Financial.
You're watching the Retirement Halftime Show. I'm your host, Alexander Joyce. And with me today is Tim Ayers. We are still talking about mortgages. We've done a pretty good series on mortgages. And I think that, as we end this series, we'll talk about different things like non-traditional uses for a mortgage, like cash out refi. We're going to touch on things like reverse mortgage and different topics, right?
Yes.
Because it's a loan. And these houses and these homes that we take this loan out for are assets. Right. I mean, these are real tangible things, and what ways to get in there and take some of those monies out as we mature, perhaps in retirement or in life in general. What are the better ways to do that as opposed to just liquidate it, sell it, move on, right?
Exactly.
And so we'll touch on that as well. But today we want to talk about USDA, right? We've talked about conventional, FHA, and VA. Right. And so now we're going to jump in both feet, Tim, at USDA loans. Who are they for? What are the purposes of them? How do they work?
Well, USDA, they're for people that want to live in rural areas.
Okay.
And you don't have to have a USDA loan to live in a rural area, obviously.
All right.
And they're not necessarily for farmers. And that's what people generally think. Well, it's a USDA loan, there's got to be some stake in there somewhere, right?
Yeah.
Well, no, that's not the case. USDA is for anybody that wants to live in a rural area, and it is defined by a map, and I'll give you that website. But The requirements are basically the same as a conventional mortgage, and there's no real loan limit. There is 0 down again, and the PMI is reduced, or it's much more affordable than an FHA loan. So you have all of those things going on. Also, the the interest rates tend to be a little less, a little lower, because again, it is a government-funded or government-backed loan.
Sure.
And so that makes the process a little bit different,
a little easier.
A little easier.
Okay.
But there are income limits.
I see.
And so, and one of the things that I found most troubling with clients is that they didn't realize that if their daughter or son are age 18 or whatever and contributing to the household income, we have to count that income.
Household income.
So it's total household income.
I see.
Complete.
I see.
And so that has been a little bit of a sticky wicket in a few places.
Okay.
But generally it's workable. So.
Cool. I think that's a powerful takeaway, because I could gift my portion of my land to my son. He lives in the home. I no longer farm, but we run the family farm and LLC out of my son and his business. That is considered household income, right?
Yes, any income,
right?
Any source of income.
I'm a strategic thinker, right?
Wow.
So,
wow, that is
right?
good.
And that's what you want, right? I mean, that's what people want. They want thinkers outside the box, non-traditional finance, right? But listen, I think I appreciate that, Tim, and I think that I've learned a lot every time we do this, and it's good to have a relationship like this. When you walk in our building and you walk in our firm, we answer tax questions, estate plans questions, mortgage questions. It doesn't matter what it is. Call it holistic, right, Tim? But I think that it's very important to have people designed, dedicated for that purpose. We have these questions every day. And so again, folks, stick around. You're watching the Retirement Halftime Show. There is more show to come. The best is yet to come.
Still ahead, continuing the conversation with IU basketball coach Mike Woodson. Money advice he learned at a young age that he still follows today. This is the Retirement Halftime Show.
Schedule a visit today. Call 317-903-9157. Text Alexander today at 707-ReJoyce.
The journey to retirement takes many twists and turns. Don't take that trip alone. Let the team at ReJoyce Financial be your co-pilot. The expert team of financial planners can create a roadmap that gets you to your goals. They'll work with you to create a financial plan that gives you confidence and peace of mind. Start the process today. Call 317-903-9157 or text 707-ReJoyce. Rejoice in your retirement.
You're watching the Retirement Halftime Show, powered by ReJoyce Financial.
Planning to win. Coaching strategies for financial success. Here's Alexander Joyce and Indiana University men's basketball head coach, Mike Woodson.
You're watching the Retirement Halftime Show. I am your host, Alexander Joyce, and with me today is Coach Woodson. I'm a huge sports fan, right? I mean, going to school, and I went to, in terms of college, I went to Miami of Ohio. And there's people that I know in that organization, Charlie Coles, Chris Coles, and watching some of these guys, like for instance, just shooting hoops, in a gym with a guy like, Chris Coles, if you will, just playing around. It's amazing to watch him, right? I mean, these guys, like, it's almost like they miss shots when I'm playing around, right? It's like they miss shots on purpose, and so seeing them come from, high school through college, and then of course the ultimate goal is the win, right? Going to the league, right? I mean, that's the goal, getting these guys to the NBA. And for us, in my practice, it is interesting because the concept, obviously when I'm talking to you about this, the concept is we look at things like a ladder, right? Kind of like Mount Everest, if you will, right? I mean, they say, when you're training for Mount Everest, or you're preparing, the preparation that goes into it, in the frame of mind that goes into it is extreme, right? And most people don't have accidents or injuries, or even the deaths don't occur climbing it, right? The injuries and deaths happen on the way down, right? The adrenaline to get there, they finally got there, and they kind of plant the American flag in the very top of it, and they look out, and it's like, wow, I made it, right? But truly, a lot of times what I experience with my clients, climbing that mountain, that's 30, 40, 50 sometimes years, multiple retirements, if you will, to get there, and then they look at the journey down and they get nervous, right? They get anxious, they get apprehensive. Such is true when people continue to work. And a lot of times we tell our clients, you have a really expensive hobby, and it is called work, where they get fixated on what they do and they just can't stop. And, the ultimate goal, once we get them there, is to prepare for that next journey, if you will. And so when you're working with I was going to say clients, your players, right? When you're working with them, how do you prepare them, for that next step in their career? Because that's got to be emotional, right? I mean, you seem like a very level-headed guy, right? I'm sure these conversations come natural, very straightforward. But how do you get them mentally prepared? Especially since they're young, right? They're in college, and so there's this noise behind it, right? I mean, staying focused. I was going through school, and there's a lot of noise. I was very, very focused, but there's a lot of noise, a lot of distractions, if you would. And so, kind of walk us through that conversation going from good, if you will, to great.
That's a great question. The journey of coming from high school to college to pros is a hell of a jump. It really is. And I say that because each step of the way, the talent level increases.
It does.
And
it's noticeable.
Yeah, it's very noticeable. And once you make that final jump professionally, it's now how you figure out how to stay. And it's a balancing act, I think, because if you're married, you're dealing with, your family, you got kids. There's a lot of things that come with staying fit and ready to play in the NBA as you travel that journey. But once you get there and you start to make the money, I've always told players, you cannot play this game forever. It's going to end.
Yeah, right.
And I had someone, and I think, a lot of these players, when you're not used to making that kind of money, once you get there, you need help.
Yeah.
Yourself, you need financial help. And, all I can do is relate to my career. And I had tremendous help from some incredible people that were about Mike Woodson and his development on and off the floor. And I think that's so valuable for these players today, because the horror stories of players that have played 10, 15 years and end up with nothing.
It's so true.
So, there's a journey that has to be learned from that. And I think the players today are starting to figure it out, in terms of, life after basketball, because there's going to be a life.
Right.
You won't play forever.
Right.
And if you're fortunate enough to get 10, 15 years in, you got to have something to fall back on. You're 35, 36 years of age.
Yeah.
You got another 50, 60 years.
What do you do with it?
If God,
is willing. Right? That's right.
You got a long way to go. So that money has got to be able, if you've done the right things. And I'm always preaching that, because again, all the horror stories that I've seen over the years through my run, from 80 to 91 when I played, it's devastating to me.
It is devastating. It's we see it. It's interesting you say that, because we see that we see it every day. I'm an estate planner. I focus on tax planning. I focus on legal work, estate planning. And a lot of times wealth management, income planning, financial planning in general, that's the type of firm we are. We're holistic, right? So we're doing tax planning, tax filing, estate planning, we're building trusts, wills, doing business valuations, all of it. And it's interesting because what I've seen in my practice is it really doesn't, it doesn't come down to how much someone has made, right, or how much wealth they've established. It is, it's for some of our clients, it's significant, and it's emotional, of course. But it's all about once you've made that money, how do you plan? And the biggest concern, no matter how much money people have, the biggest concern, the ultra wealthy, the middle class, the lower class, we help everybody. I've got a passion for helping. Our value out of my practice is if we can help, we can make a difference. I really don't care how much money people have. And the thing is, and the reason why, is because the concern is still the same. Do I have enough to make my lifestyle whole? Leave money behind, if that's a goal. Legacy planning, tax efficiency. Am I overpaying in taxes? How do I make that bill go down? And making sure that they don't outlive it. And it's so true, because the philosophy, or the theme, if you will, the foundation of our practice is built on relationships. As you mentioned, those people that are in your life that have had those hand-holding moments that you remember that got you to that next step, right? And that's what we see that people need, is guidance, education. Hence the fact we do this show. It's all about education, because I think if they're well armed with that education, they can make sound decisions, whether that's with us or whether that's with their current advisor, or whoever that circle of influence is around them. And we think it's very important. And just as you mentioned, it's all about planning, right? It's all about forward thinking. It's all about, as we say, plan first, invest later, building that roadmap, building that journey, right? Building that journey. And then whatever that journey looks like, if we've got a tangible direction and goal, then we kind of fund it, if you will. We put the pieces around it to get there. And I think that you're right. I mean, there's so many stories, and there's so many things that happen in everyday life that we just don't expect.
Reduce your tax liability and keep more of your money for your priorities. Our $199 service includes tax analysis, preparation, and filing your state and federal taxes. It's your money. Spend it on your priorities. Call and schedule today.
You're watching the Retirement Halftime Show, powered by ReJoyce Financial.
Today's tip of the week for stronger financial health. If you're juggling paying several different credit cards and seeing the interest add up every month, you may want to consider debt consolidation. It may help make paying off your debts more manageable, since there will only be one due date and one interest rate to keep track of. There are many ways to consolidate debt, but 3 of the most popular ways are through a loan, a balance transfer credit card, or an agency that specializes in debt consolidation. Keep in mind, there will likely be upfront costs, such as loan origination or balance transfer fees. The interest rate could potentially be higher too. To help you decide if it's worth it, figure out your weighted average interest rate, add up your debt balances, then add up the interest paid in dollars on each account. Divide the debt total by total interest paid and multiply that number by 100 to get the percentage interest rate. Compare your weighted interest rate to debt consolidation offers. Today's tip of the week for stronger financial health.
Thank you for watching the Retirement Halftime Show. If you have questions about today's show, give us a call, send us a text, or go to our website. Most importantly, maintain your lead in retirement. I'm Alexander Joyce, and I'll see you next time.